Many of us learned that belonging required adaptation. I learned to read the room, figure out what other people wanted, and adjust myself so I could fit in. And the problem is that when you spend enough years doing that, you lose touch with who you actually are. You become so focused on being accepted that you stop asking yourself very important questions. Do I even like this? Do I enjoy this conversation? Do I enjoy this activity? Do I like being around these people? For many of us, especially those of us who grew up in dysfunctional families, those questions never occurred to us. We were focused on being accepted, not being authentic. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle, and I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented, emotionally overwhelmed, stuck in people-pleasing, approval-seeking, overthinking, or losing yourself in relationships, you're in the right place. This podcast is about recovery for real life. Through honest stories, practical tools, and lessons I've learned through 12-Step Recovery, boundaries work, and over 4 decades of personal growth, we explore what it actually takes to stop abandoning yourself and build a life that feels more authentic, grounded, and whole. We'll talk about things like boundaries, shame, family dysfunction, reparenting, emotional regulation, self-trust, recovery, and creating internal safety so you can stay connected to yourself even when life gets hard. I'm a boundaries coach, speaker, author, and woman in recovery, and my approach is raw, honest, practical, and sometimes a little bit, a lot, sweary. I'm also an avid beachcomber. My hands are basically always cold, so I wear fingerless gloves most of the year. And I still get weirdly excited when I spot license plates with my initials, BN. I don't speak for or represent any particular 12-step fellowship, though I'm deeply grateful for the role recovery has played in my life. If you're ready for real talk, emotional healing, and practical tools to help you go from fragmented to whole, keep listening. This is episode 357, Why You Keep Ignoring Your Own Preferences and What to Do Instead. Have you ever thought about social boundaries as giving yourself permission to be who you are socially? When most people think about social boundaries, they think about things like how to deal with rude people, how to say no to invitations, how to stop toxic friendships, or how to handle difficult family members. And those are absolutely social boundaries. But lately, I've been thinking about something more fundamental. I've been thinking about social boundaries as giving yourself permission to be who you are socially. One of the things I teach all the time is that boundaries aren't just about what you say to other people. They're also about being willing to honor what's true for you, what is authentically you. And I think that's especially important when it comes to our social lives. For example, I don't like scary movies. Now, that might sound trivial, but there was a time in my life when I watched scary movies and TV shows because everybody else wanted to. I can still see the images to this day. I convinced myself it wasn't a big deal, and I overrode my own preferences in order to fit in. Today, I don't watch scary movies, not because they're wrong or other people shouldn't enjoy them. I just know they're not for me. One of the things I've noticed is that we often dismiss our own preferences because they seem unimportant. We tell ourselves, it's just a movie, or it's just a party, or it's just a joke, or it's just one conversation. But social boundaries are built from thousands of these seemingly small moments. Every time we override a preference, we're sending ourselves a message that what we want doesn't really matter. Now, I'm not saying we should never compromise. Of course not. Healthy relationships require flexibility. Sometimes we do things we wouldn't choose because they matter to someone we love. The question is whether you're consciously choosing to compromise or unconsciously abandoning yourself. Those are two very different things. A conscious choice feels more generous. Self-abandonment feels resentful. And then there's sarcasm. I don't like it. I was teased and made fun of a lot as a child. Sarcasm was kind of like a weapon in my family. Much of it was supposedly playful, but it didn't feel playful to me. It felt painful. If I ever said that hurt or anything else to indicate that I didn't like it, I was told, it's just a joke. And it's actually not a joke when you put me down or call me out publicly for some flaw. Sarcasm is also a form of indirect communication, and I don't do that anymore. So while other people might enjoy relationships where sarcasm is the primary form of communication, I don't. That's my preference, and social boundaries include honoring our preferences. Another example is the way I like to socialize. I really don't like big giant parties. I really prefer smaller groups or even one-on-one conversations. One thing I've noticed is that I really don't like coffee hour at church. It's a room full of people making small talk. I don't even know many of them. It feels unstructured and disconnected to me. So I rarely attend coffee hour after church. But if there's a discussion with a topic, I'm in. Now, contrast coffee hour with networking events. I love them. At first glance, coffee hour and networking might seem same. They're both rooms full of people, many of whom I don't know, but they feel completely different to me. At a networking event, there's a shared purpose. Everyone knows why we're there. My goal is to meet people, learn about their businesses, and hopefully connect them with other entrepreneurs I know. If business comes my way as a result, great. But what I enjoy the most is the purpose, the structure, and making connections, because I'm a connector by nature. That tells me something important about myself. I don't dislike people. In fact, I love them. I dislike interactions that feel disconnected or purposeless. That's useful information. The older I get, the more I realize that social boundaries are often less about protecting ourselves from other people and more about understanding ourselves. For example, I don't like surprise visitors. Don't show up at my house unannounced. I don't pay attention to politics or current events, and I don't discuss them. I don't get involved in gossip. Those days are over. I spent years gossiping about others, but didn't even realize that was what I was doing. And that's yet another form of indirect communication. If you want to talk on the phone, text me first. My days are scheduled because I run my own business and I don't spend my workday answering unexpected phone calls. In fact, I keep the ringer off on my phone so I don't get interrupted by calls, text messages, or notifications. I look at my phone when I'm available and respond when the time is right for me. I don't attend drinking-centered social activities, and I don't want friendships that revolve entirely around processing problems. Now, let's be clear. I absolutely want friends who can talk about difficult things. I'm a deep person. I think deeply. I feel deeply. I'm a processor. I love that shit. I need relationships where we can process life challenges. But I don't want that to be the only thing we do. I want friendships that include laughter, joy, ordinary conversation, creativity, and fun. I don't want to be someone's crisis hotline while never getting to know who they are when things are going well. Like, that was a lot of what was going on before recovery. Many of us learned that belonging required adaptation. I know I've learned that. I've learned to read the room, figure out what other people wanted, and adjust myself so I could fit in. And the problem is that when you spend enough years doing that, you lose touch with who you actually are. You become so focused on being accepted that you stop asking yourself very important questions. Do I even like this? Do I enjoy this conversation? Do I enjoy this activity? Do I like being around these people? And do I like the way I feel when I'm here? For many of us, especially those of us who grew up in dysfunctional families, those questions never occurred to us. We were focused on being accepted, not being authentic. We learned to fit in, go along, laugh when everyone else laughed, even if it made us uncomfortable or we thought it wasn't funny at all. We learned to attend events we didn't enjoy, tolerate conversations we weren't interested in, or that felt just a little too personal. We learned to become who we thought other people wanted us to be. In other words, many of us learned that belonging required self-abandonment. So we override ourselves socially all the time. We go to the party we don't want to attend. We watch the movie we don't want to watch. We laugh at jokes we don't find funny. We spend time with people who drain us. We stay in conversations long after we're done. We pretend to enjoy activities we don't really like. We force ourselves to be more social than we naturally are. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted, resentful, disconnected, or lonely. Social boundaries invite us to stop doing that. They invite us to become more honest about who we are. The challenge, of course, is that when you stop overriding yourself, you may discover that you're different from the people around you. And that is where the real work begins. Because social boundaries aren't just about deciding what works for you. They're about tolerating the discomfort of being different from the people around you. It's one thing to realize you don't enjoy giant parties. It's another thing to be the person who always leaves early while everyone else stays. It's one thing to realize you don't want to gossip. It's another thing to change the subject when everyone else is participating. It's one thing to know you don't want to answer every phone call. It's another thing to let the call go to voicemail and trust you don't have to explain yourself. This is where internal safety comes in. Can you remain connected to yourself when other people don't understand? Can you honor your preferences without apologizing for them? Can you trust that you're allowed to be different and still be connected to others? Because that's really the fear underneath all of this. The fear isn't that people will agree with us. The fear is that if we're honest about who we are, we'll lose our connection to others. If I don't laugh at that joke, will people like me? If I leave the party early, will people think I'm rude? If I don't answer the phone immediately, will people be upset? If I say I don't want to discuss politics, will people judge me? Internal safety is what allows us to tolerate those possibilities. It's what allows us to say, someone might not understand my choice, and I'm still going to honor it. That's where social boundaries become real, not when everyone agrees with them, when you're willing to maintain them, even when they don't. Social boundaries aren't just about protecting yourself from other people. They're about honoring your preferences, your personality, and your social needs without apologizing for them. And the more willing you are to do that, the more likely you are to create a social life that actually fits who you are. If you've ever found yourself saying yes when you really wanted to say no, taking responsibility for other people's reactions, or abandoning your own needs the moment discomfort appears, my new course, Boundaries That Hold, was created for you. Early access enrollment is now open. You'll also receive bonus resources and early access participant pricing before the public launch. Visit higherpowercc.com/boundariesthathold to learn more. And if you'd like guided support applying these concepts at work, the Workplace Boundaries Podcast Integration Circle begins July 1. Go to higherpowercc.com/integration-circle. Thanks for listening. If something here resonated, come connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm at Barb Nangle. I'd love to hear what you got from this episode. And if you'd like support building healthier boundaries in your personal, professional, or romantic life, you can book a free 30-minute Say No Without Guilt consultation at barbchat.net.